I released my top 50 coasters on my last video, so I thought I would do something new and release the ones that I have ranked numbers 51 through 100. These are basically what I see as my favorite supporting coasters, so if you were offended by something not making my top 50, you may see it here, but maybe not. I'm someone who likes everything, except for Firebird, so I have coasters that I totally love that have not even made my top 100. I have ridden 505 different coasters, and all of them are in the United States or Canada's Wonderland. My personal experience with the rides and my preferences play a big part. With supporting coasters, this is where the rides with good floater airtime or inversion-based rides tend to land. Rides that have great ejector airtime and variety tend to be in my top 50. I showed the stats for my top 50, so here they are for this list, but this doesn't mean as much because while my top 50 are dominated by RMCs and Intamins, you will only see one of those here. B&Ms dominate this list, which shows that I'm not the biggest B&M fan, but there wouldn't be this many here if I didn't like them. GCIs are also well represented. Wood coasters are well represented, ahead of my overall percentage. In my state breakdown, the best 5 states for coasters are right up there, just like in my top 50. Six Flags and Cedar Fair are in a dead heat, but Six Flags did win by several in my top 50. Let's get started with my number 100, which is Comet, the PTC Woody at Six Flags Great Escape. This was riding great on my visit, giving great airtime, and it's a very long ride. 99 is Switchback at ZDT's in Seguin, Texas. The Gravity Group wooden shuttle coaster, the only one of its kind. It's so interesting and unique, which I appreciate, and it gives some decent airtime. 98 is American Thunder, the GCI Woody at Six Flags St. Louis. It can be a hit and miss for the quality of airtime, but it's always a fun ride. 97 is Griffon, the B&M dive coaster at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. My least favorite dive coaster for the repetitive nature, but that view at the top is amazing and the drops give great airtime. 96 is Max Force, the SNS launch coaster at Six Flags Great America. One of the strongest launches there is and a great high-speed barrel roll, but the other inversions didn't do much for me, and it's way too short of a ride to get any higher. 95 is Raging Bull, also at Six Flags Great America. My least favorite B&M Hyper, but it does have the best first drop on any B&M Hyper, if you're in the back row. Plus, there is more airtime despite the twister layout. 94 is Incredible Hulk, the B&M sit-down at Islands of Adventure. That first inversion is amazing, and it's a very intense ride. The pacing isn't the best, with some dull spots, and it can ride a bit shaky, which holds it down some. 93 is Manta, the mock multi-launch coaster at SeaWorld San Diego. This is not a family coaster. It provides very good airtime and snappy transitions. This is basically a less intense Maverick, but it's still far more intense than you'd think. This probably deserves to be much higher. 92 is Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket at Universal Studios Orlando. It's always fun to pick your own song, and the ride gives some incredible ejector airtime going into or out of each of the 578 mid-course brake runs, depending on if you're in the front or the back. It can ride quite shaky in rows 3 or 6. 91 is Apollo's Chariot, the B&M Hyper at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. Probably the weakest B&M Hyper for airtime, but it is still good, and you do get a surprising ejector moment towards the end. The setting and terrain usage is excellent. 90 is X-Flight, the B&M wing coaster at Six Flags Great America. I love these wing coasters so much, but this has quite a rattle, which holds it down as my least favorite wing coaster, but it does have maybe the best near-miss element of all of them. 89 is Behemoth, the B&M Hyper at Canada's Wonderland. It had a bit of a rattle, but that didn't take away from the great floater airtime throughout the ride. The Helix coming after the mid-course was an odd choice. 88 is Goliath, the B&M Hyper at Six Flags Over Georgia. This used to be my second favorite Hyper before my very rough rides in late 2020. It's the roughest B&M I have ever ridden. However, it is a great layout with strong airtime and a very forceful Helix and no mid-course brake run. 87 is Wild Eagle, the B&M wing coaster at Dollywood. This one is very graceful with only a tiny rattle. No near misses on it, but the setting is amazing, towering over the center of the park. 86 is Tatsu, the B&M Flyer at Six Flags Magic Mountain. It can sometimes be rattly, but it also has a great setting, towering high above the center of the park. It is graceful, then it tries to rip you apart in the intense pretzel loop. Sitting on the brake run in a prone position for 10 minutes is an after-ride buzzkill, though. 85 is Kraken, the B&M Floorless at SeaWorld Orlando. It is sometimes rattly, sometimes smooth, but it has a great set of inversions with the second half utilizing trenches for some great visuals. 84 is Intimidator, the B&M Hyper at Carowinds. Enthusiasts love to trash on this, but I think it's great. Only a tiny rattle, and the airtime is outstanding, even with the 294 trims. It's not paced the best, which holds it down a little. 83 is Mindblower, the Gravity Group Woody at Fun Spot Kissimmee. I probably should have dropped this a lot because of my recent very rough rides, but I can't deny that it is a great layout, providing some excellent airtime plus an inversion. I hope they can somehow get this running a little smoother. 82 is West Coast Racers, the premier multi-launch racing coaster at Six Flags Magic Mountain. The discomfort collars take away from the ride, but once you find a way to manage it, you can appreciate the great airtime, inversions, and fun factor of a guaranteed race every time. 81 is Titan at Six Flags Over Texas. One of my more controversial placements, but this was my first truly big coaster back in the day. My 20-year history with this ride has it as a sentimental favorite, despite it being a hyper with only one airtime moment. The helixes are very intense. 80 is Diamondback, the B&M Hyper at Kings Island. It used to be my least favorite B&M Hyper, but it keeps moving up. It seems to ride smoother every time I go. The airtime is some of the weirdest and most unique of any B&M Hyper, and it feels quite different depending on where you sit on the train. I didn't like this ride at first, but it has totally won me over. 79 is Magnum XL200, the Aero Hyper at Cedar Point. The ending series of Bunny Hills has some of the sharpest and most janky airtime you will ever experience. The janky transitions, pacing issues, and lack of variety is why it's not higher on my list, but that crazy airtime makes up for it. 78 is Riddler's Revenge, the B&M stand-up at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This is an extremely intense ride, and if you guys get the perch down low, you'll be alright. It has only a slight rattle, but it's a long ride with a good layout. The intensity might be too much for some people. 77 is Superman Krypton Coaster, the B&M Floorless at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. The interaction with the quarry wall adds a lot to this, making for a very fun ride. The rattle usually isn't too bad, but watch out for that drop off of mid-course. 76 is Joker's Jinx, the premier launch spaghetti bowl coaster at Six Flags America. People may wonder why this is ranked so much lower than Poltergeist, and you know what? I don't know. I guess it's just not as much of a sentimental favorite as the one I've gotten to ride a lot more, but these are so much fun with no mid-course and being able to see all the head choppers. 75 is Green Lantern, the B&M stand-up at Six Flags Great Adventure. I do love the stand-up coasters, and this has been my favorite. You can get standing airtime on the drop-off of the mid-course if you ride in the back. I just like this layout a little more than Riddler's. 74 is Hydra the Revenge, the B&M Floorless at Dorney Park. It's not intense, but it is extremely unique with quirky elements, and it's the least likely floorless coaster to give any headbanging because it's smooth and not jerky. 73 is Bizarro at Six Flags Great Adventure, my favorite B&M floorless coaster. This ride's quite smooth, has a good setting, it's intense, and even has some theming. 72 is Rampage, the CCI Woody at Alabama Adventure, my 400th coaster. It has a beautiful setting at the bottom of the hillside, it's a great layout with a mix of airtime and laterals, and it has the perfect amount of roughness. 71 is Ghost Rider, the CCI Woody at Knott's Berry Farm. I admit that I will never get what others see in this, as I've now ridden it a lot. It's too smooth and gentle of a ride to get higher, but I still really like it. There's only a couple of moments of airtime that isn't very strong, even in the back, but it does have great laterals, it weaves its way through its own support structure, creating some nice visuals, and it's a very, very long ride, plus it's a pretty good night ride. 70 is Nitro, the B&M Hyper at Six Flags Great Adventure. This one has always delivered for me, providing great floater and even mild ejector airtime on occasion. It rides very smooth and has a beautiful setting going deep into the woods, making it a great night ride. 69 is Shivering Timbers, the CCI Woody at Michigan's Adventure, my 300th coaster credit. There are so many airtime hills of different shapes and sizes, it's quite a sight to behold as you enter the park. The airtime delivers, then it ends with great laterals in the helix, and it rides with the perfect amount of roughness. 68 is Powder Keg, the S&S launch coaster at Silver Dollar City. This is a very fun and unique ride with a surprisingly forceful launch. Then there are several great airtime hills as it travels out into the woods, making for a great night ride. 67 is Cheetah Hunt, the Intamin multi-launch coaster at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This is a nice long ride with a few great airtime moments, decent launches, and an inversion, and it rides very smooth. 66 is Renegade, the GCI Woody at Valley Fair. It has a unique drop, an interesting layout, and great airtime with the rapid transitions that I love. 65 is Hang Time, the Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster at Knott's Berry Farm. I love this one far more than most people, and it's easily my favorite in the park. It provides insane ejector airtime on the drop, plus 1 moment of hang time, another airtime hill, and great inversions. It's a bit of a short ride, otherwise it would be much higher. 64 is Sheikra, the B&M Dive Coaster at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This one just seems to ride much better than Griffon, far smoother, better airtime, and a more interesting layout that doesn't feel as repetitive. 63 is Val Raven, the B&M Dive Coaster at Cedar Point. It rode quite smooth for me in 2021, but it has been shaky in the past. This is a more interesting layout with more inversions, and I love the vest restraints, which do not inhibit the airtime. 62 is Banshee, the B&M invert at Kings Island. This also has those vest restraints that I love, which eliminate any chance of headbanging. This is extremely intense, and it's a long ride with no mid-course brake run. It's a terrain coaster, so it builds up incredible speed and intensity. Then as it loses speed at the end, it takes advantage of that with that hang time in the inline twist. If this didn't ride so shaky, it would be much higher. 61 is Yukon Striker, the B&M Dive Coaster at Canada's Wonderland. This is the best of the bunch with an insanely huge vertical drop into an underwater tunnel, a forceful Immelman, then you get a more complete layout to follow, and this one rides glossy smooth. 60 is Leviathan, the B&M Giga Coaster, also at Canada's Wonderland. This is the smoothest of the B&M Gigas. The layout may not be as good, but it still features some good floater airtime with some great speed. 59 is Texas Stingray, the GCI Woody at SeaWorld San Antonio. This has a straight drop, which is unusual for GCIs, and it provides some great airtime throughout the course, and it rides fairly smooth. Hold the lap bar up to keep from getting stapled, which is my advice on all these GCIs. 58 is Orion, the B&M Giga at Kings Island. It doesn't maintain its speed as well as the others, but it provides some excellent floater airtime, including even some sideways and off-axis airtime. It's a great layout with nice variety, but it's a short ride and is not very intense. 57 is Candymonium, the B&M Hyper at Hershey Park. This ride's very smooth and the airtime all delivers, including on that 5-second floater hill. You may even get some mild ejector on some hills, and I love that finale around the Kisses Fountain. It's one of the shortest hypers, but this one is quality over quantity. 56 is Lightning Racer, the GCI Racing Woody at Hershey Park. These are smooth rides, and the guaranteed racing adds so much to it. The visuals and interactions are so much fun with the racing, crossovers, and flybys. And despite the rumors, this actually does have some decent airtime, even if it isn't the best. 55 is Kentucky Rumbler, the GCI Woody at Beach Bend in Kentucky. This one does have great airtime, the perfect amount of roughness, and I think this is the best and most interesting layout of any GCI in the country. Extremely underrated ride. 54 is Mystic Timbers, the GCI Woody at Kings Island. Very overrated ride in my opinion, as it rides too smooth and it's a very simple path that it follows. However, the elements are all excellent with airtime hills of different shapes and sizes, sometimes a little off-axis, all in rapid-fire succession. 53 is Thunderhead, the GCI Woody at Dollywood. This airtime is some of the best of any GCI, and it's such a great and interesting layout. It also has the best night ride of any GCI in the country, other than Prowler. It can be a bit too rough for some people, but I'm okay with it. 52 is the iconic Beast at Kings Island. I know it has no airtime, but that just doesn't matter with this one. It's such a great experience going deep into the woods at such high speeds, made even better by the night ride. I'm not sure what kind of track work is being done this off-season, but I'm hoping that it'll make this ride even better. And the final coaster that missed out on my top 50 is Full Throttle, the premier launch coaster at Six Flags Magic Mountain. The strong launch is followed by an insanely huge loop with maybe the best hang time moment in the world, giving a great upside-down view of the distant mountains. It has a surprise later on in the ride and then finishes with airtime on top of the loop. The reason this dropped a couple notches is because it's one of the few coasters in the Six Flags chain with assigned seating, which can be very frustrating and a slight buzzkill on some rides. But that's it for my numbers 51 through 100, the best of the supporting coasters, representing these 29 parks. Some people will be devastated to hear that rides like Hagrid, Steel Eel, and Boulder Dash didn't make it, but those were among the first ones out, and no, Jersey Devil didn't even come close. But hey, we're all different. Let me know what you thought of these in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.